All right. I think we're good. Yeah, those yeah, they were kind of rough. Well, we ended up winning more than we lost somehow.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It was a bit of a miracle.
It just really annoys me that anyone just doesn't know how to play specific healers. I just wish everyone knew how to play what was needed at the time, because that's what Overwatch is. You know, there were so many chances where I was literally like, oh, an Anna would be great here, and I think it was Caden and Jamie on healer, and they were both just like, I can't play Anna. Sorry, I'm just gonna stay with Zen.
I don't do
I'm
that.
gonna stay
I don't
with
play Anna.
whoever else it was. I think it was Zen Kiriko, and it just wasn't working. And it was just like, oh, great.
Yeah.
I guess we'll just carry on smacking our head against the wall then, I guess.
That's cool too, I suppose.
Yeah. So what do you mean? What do you mean you don't know how to play? Is he just not going to do it?
Yeah, that's it.
Mike was just
and if I just keep saying that, then I never do it. Yeah. I also think because he was as well, like he was like, oh yeah, they're playing Pharah, so I'm going to play Anna. I was like, okay, maybe if you're a really good Anna, but you told me you're 6 spears in and you can't shoot straight. So I don't know, like maybe like factor that into the equation somewhere.
Yeah, it's insane, and his numbers, man. Like at the end of a game to be like 4K
so scary.
on both. It's just like I don't even know how you, because like it's not even like the 4K damage he was doing was like exceptionally a lot for Anna, because like, I could end a game with 4K damage. What's worrying is he's got 4K damage and 4K healing. It's just like are you just spending a lot of your time not shooting enemies or not shooting teammates? Because like I can end a game with 4K damage and 13K healing. So it's just like I'm always shooting something. He's either just missing a lot or he's just spending a lot of the game just not shooting or not using abilities.
I know. Shooting people in the toes with his syringes. It's good stuff. It's really helpful.
It is. Yeah. No,
it's the plight, dear listener. Yeah, it's the plight, dear listener, of playing, with your friends who are worse than you. In these competitive multiplayer games.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's rough. And yeah, at that point in the night, that's when I was just like, I made it out that I just wanted to climb on healer. And so I was like, but I knew I just needed to be the anchor healer. So I was like, I'm just going to queue healer for the rest of the night. And I was like, I just want to rank up
glad you did.
my healer. But realistically, I was happy playing all roles. But I was just like, I have to. I can't have Jamie like on healer again. It's
no, I can't.
It's the worst thing. When I see it happen, I'm literally like, oh, we've lost. Like,
I feel sick to my stomach.
Yeah. This is just an L. Like, there's just no question about it. This is an L.
I truly think you can judge someone's moral fiber by how well they play healers. I think it says a lot about a person. If they don't do it at all, you're a terrible person. Like if you do it reluctantly and then just play it like you're a damage dealer, and this applies for any game, I think you're also arguably maybe a more terrible person because at least you're not being consistent with your values. Stop trying to masquerade, stop trying to pretend. Virtue signal that you're a healer. You're not.
Yeah,
it does. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's true. It's rough. It's rough out here, but. We ended up winning more than we lost last night, which was a miracle. But I think
it was
just, the few of us, me, you, and Caden, were just playing quite well last night, I think.
Yeah, we were.
And like Caden's ball is good, but he's hammy. But like sometimes it just leaves the team stranded, and he's not really accomplishing.
That's what he
anything.
does. Yeah.
It's just like you're not killing anyone either, and then we're dying. So it's just like you're not really accomplishing anything. But I think for the most part, it's pretty good. Like I only see that happen sometimes.
Yeah, no, I think he did quite well. He's quite well. Actually, I have interest. Sorry, I know we're going into like a ranked, like competitive Overwatch feedback, but that's fine. I'll do a timestamp, and you can skip or just go and have a piss now or something.
Well, this is basically what we're playing this week anyway, so this could just be our check-in. So.
And we literally open the call, click record, and start talking. Do you know what I mean? So this is a catch up. This is what we do, all right? This is what you're here for.
Yeah.
Did you feel the same way when I was playing Doomfist? Because I've started playing Doomfist more recently, and I was like, did you feel abandoned?
No, not particularly. But there were some points where I was like, and I just said it. I was like, Doomfist just isn't the play here. Like, you just got to come off him, which is fine. I'm always happy for someone to click on Doomfist and give it a go. I'm always happy for someone to click on Hanzo and give it a go. The important thing is to not waste time. If it's not working, you got to understand that, and you got to listen to your teammates, and you got to come off it. Like, I think I played Hanzo for 1 life last night. I was literally like, I'm gonna give him 1 go. I played him for 1 life. I headshot Torb twice. Apparently Torb doesn't die to headshot arrows.
Oh yeah, we learned that, didn't we?
Yeah, and I built an ult really quickly. I fired it, and I was like, this isn't working. Died once with him and came off him. You know, I maybe was on him for like a minute and a half, and I managed to build up an ult, use it, and realise it wasn't working. Yeah, it's just not wasting time. But no, there weren't times. You always tended to fly back with Doomfist. There are a few times you got caught out, and even you were like, what am I doing here? And then you just died.
I said it out loud. Yeah. Fuck, I'm so deep.
But for the most part, it was pretty good. And I quite enjoy your Doomfist. It's not a bad Doomfist.
So it's quite fun. Yeah, cool. That's great. I mean, we'll resume this conversation later, hopefully. When we catch 10 more fat dubs, you know.
Although I need to play unranked for my weeklies now, which is really annoying.
It's annoying, though, isn't it? Yeah, I don't know. It's only one of the challenges.
Yeah, I feel like they should always give you the option for still unranked or ranked. Like, always. Because if you're just vibing in a playlist and all you want to do is climb a ladder, I don't think you should be penalised for that. Or, like, when you're trying to climb the battle pass. It's a bit annoying, but...
yeah, their challenge system it's got a lot better, but it still needs some work, I think.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
All right, shall we jingle in then? Get the show on the road?
Yeah, let's do it. Oh, I don't even have the notes up. All right, it's jingling. You can go ahead.
Fantastic. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the 91st episode of the Quick Resume podcast. Thanks for coming. My name is Deck. That's Tim right over there.
Hello, everyone.
And we've got things to speak about. Would you believe it? You come to a podcast and expect to hear people speaking about things. That's pretty wild. Although actually, it wasn't that much of a busy week, to be honest with you. Apart from the obvious, with Starfield, a little bit of ABK drama every week. Hey, another sort of gash in my wrist, that's kind of it, to be honest. A couple of things here and there. So, we can be loosey-goosey. We can be improvisational. That'll be fun.
I can see number one note here is make sure Deck is wired. Are you wired or on?
Thanks, man. Yes, I am.
Okay, good.
Just turn around and yank with a fucking stick of thing in the back of my head.
That could be interpreted in many different ways. Make sure Deck is
true.
Right. You take your drugs before the
These
show,
have just
Deck?
been...
You buzzing?
Yeah. These are just 91 episodes gathering information on you. It's like... What's that? What's it fucking called? What's the movie with Jim Carrey?
Truman
What's
Show.
it called? Where nobody else is real. Yeah, that's it. Truman Show. That's it. It's a Timmy show.
It's the Timmy Show.
I'd watch it. Yeah.
It's pretty
Did you ever no? Did you ever get? I had like a real existential crisis when I was younger. I don't know, maybe like 8 or 9. That like nobody else was real. Like everything else is fake apart from me. Did you have any crises like that?
No.
You
There
didn't?
are moments I do feel like there's like a glitch in the Matrix though. I was driving to work the other day and I could have sworn I overtook the same lorry 3 times. Like on the bounce. It was like a massive lorry, bright yellow. It was called like Bishop's Move or something. And I even took note of the license plate. I was like, that like ends in like a D. That license plate, and then 10 minutes later, and it's a lorry, so I'm going way faster than it. I'm going at like 80, 90. This thing's chilling at like 60 in the slow lane. I overtook it, and I was like, that's weird. Saw it again, I was like, that's really weird. I was like, is there just multiple of them? And I was like, okay, it ends in D. And I overtook it for the third time, and I was like, that, and the license plate ended in D, and I was like, is this real? Like, what's going on here? It was really weird.
I mean, if you'd come to my Twitch chat, you'd have seen us all watching you, from the lorries.
Yeah.
I was streaming from inside the lorry.
Yeah, you're literally sitting there like copy and pasting. You're like, we're gonna throw another lorry in now, guys. We're gonna see how he reacts to this one. Oh, he's pinching himself in the car. Look at that.
Yeah, this is weird. That's a bead of sweat on his forehead, I think. We're really getting to him, boys. Now throw in the Griffin.
Yeah. Have a Griffin swoop down and pick up his car.
Yeah. I'm sure he won't question anything. That's an everyday occurrence, really.
Griffin on my way to work, man. Always makes me late.
Yeah, so annoying. Griffin ain't my homework. I knew there was a word for it. Yeah, solipsism. Solipsism? Yeah. A philosophical idea that only one's mind is sure to exist. Yeah. I don't know. It didn't feel like a philosophical idea. It felt like a invasive thought that really just went too far when I was younger. Yeah, and I specifically remember my mum being like, "You don't think I'm real?" And she'd be like, you think I'm like a robot? Like, do you want to check my batteries?" And he'd be like, I don't think so. I don't know.
Yeah, you're like, "Mum, it's fine. Just let me stab you, and then we'll know if you're real." Your mum's like, "There." You're scaring me,
We
honey.
can figure this out. It's so simple. Yeah. Put the knife down. I need to know.
This is the only way.
There's no possible alternative. But none of this happened. This is all fake.
Yeah.
I don't need a psychiatrist or therapy.
He doesn't.
Okay. All right, what have we been playing then? Tim, go on, kick us off.
Overwatch 2. Grind out that battle pass. By the way, double XP battle pass this weekend. Love it. Like, I went from 18 to 40 last night. 18 to 40. I'm halfway through the battle pass now.
That's
so
big.
yeah, that's big. So yeah, I've been playing that because I want to get it finished, and I've been playing a bit of Midnight Suns, not as much as I would have liked. I'm kind of co-op playing Hogwarts with Tilly at the moment.
So lovely.
Yeah, I've been there pretty much most of the journey. I know all the story beats and stuff like that. I mainly just do the spider missions because she can't stand spiders.
But you hang on.
Yeah.
I mean, forgive me for maybe knowing you too well, but that sounds a bit weird to me.
Yeah, that is weird. Yeah. No.
So Tilly hates spiders more than you?
Yeah. Like, to the point where, like, one pops up on her screen, and there was a moment that she flinched so hard, she actually just threw her PS5 controller and hit a cat in the head with it. Like, and she just freaks out.
Yeah,
she just
I'm
can't do
sorry.
it. Yeah, she just can't do it.
That's horrible.
So, like, and I don't really give a shit about spiders. Like, in a game like that, I'm a wizard. I'm just like flinging them in the air and setting them on fire and beating the shit out of them. They're not really scary. Like, it was scary in like Metro Exodus because it was pitch black and all I had was a lighter to light the room and like no weapons. And I was crawling
and like
through
3 bullets.
Yeah, and I was crawling through like vents and shit. So that was awful.
Yeah,
but it depends on the context. Like, I don't find them scary at all when you're playing them in Hogwarts.
I kind of want to try that game again, man. Sorry, keep going.
What, Metro? Yeah, it got a upgrade, didn't it? Free upgrade.
It did. Yeah, I played it for a bit, but I couldn't kind of get going. But it looks so good.
Mate, that game is... I mean, I don't know how it looks now, but back when I played it, it's up there as one of the best looking games I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, in the moment, like, it sticks in my memory when someone's like, graphical games top 3. Like, I'm like, Metro Exodus. Like, it's there.
Yeah.
Like, all the time. It's phenomenal.
It's bonkers.
Yeah, it's fucking insane. Although I did see Horizon Forbidden West played, and that
also looks bonkers. Yeah,
fucking unreal. Like, when you're like underwater in that game, like, it's just, my jaw just hits the floor. But yeah, it's a good game, man. You should play it. Yeah, I was kind of bummed out. I never actually finished it. Again, classic Tim. I got like maybe 75% the way through it, like a really decent chunk, and then I just dropped it because something else came out. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, no, it's a really good game. I do recommend it. You
We were
good?
talking about spiders. Yeah. Sorry, I thought you were going somewhere with it all. So I was just letting you have,
No,
just
no,
giving you
no.
the floor.
I thought you like
Okay,
froze
that's fine.
because you like weren't moving. You were literally just like,
Yeah.
I was like, is his internet dropped out? What's going on here?
It's me on my Zoom therapy calls.
They like open up to you, and you're just like, oh, me now.
It's like, are you still there? Hmm? Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm here.
Mhm.
Spiders. You were saying. Well, that's great. So Overwatch, and a bit of Midnight Suns, bit of Hogwarts Legacy. That's cool.
And I also started playing Monster Sanctuary on my phone this morning because I was looking for a touch game to play because
Oh yeah,
Tilly was just watching YouTube.
always like kind of neat.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's kind of Pokemon-esque in its own way. It's cool. It seems pretty decent. I think I'd like to play it more, but it probably won't hold my interest with everything coming out. And I kind of just did it because I was bored. But yeah, it looked pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, that's nice though. I like that we can kind of do that. That you can. It reminds me of like the old days, when when iPhones just became a thing and smartphones are doing a thing and everything was like free on like the stores, and you just saw something cool and you downloaded it and you just tried it and you just played it and you didn't commit to it for hours and hours and hours, but you just played it for like maybe a few hours, a couple of weeks or whatever, and that was it. And you had a cool experience with it, like a fucking mini gore.
Yeah, mini gore, temple run, doodle jump, all that kind of shit. Yeah, they're all free.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
yeah. You just do that on your phone through cloud streaming. So yeah, that's cool. Because I've done that a few times as well. Where I've just booted up. I can't think of any on the spot. Monster Train is maybe a good example. I'm sure there's some other better examples. Because I actually played that for like maybe 10, 15 hours. But yeah, that was it. It's nice. Yep, I've been playing Overwatch as well, and I guess a little bit of a recap. Maybe if the listeners haven't been playing Overwatch 2 or just heard about the outrage like near the beginning of launch or whatever. It's done well at sort of picking things back up, I think, for the most part. I don't think it's fully recovered. I think they struggled in that first season because obviously they delayed it and they delayed like a couple of patches, so meta got a bit stale. And I still think they've kind of fucked up with some of the features they've decided to remove. And I think there's some that they're planning to bring back in, like the on fire thing. I think they're planning to bring back in, but it's just like, such a step backwards. Like, I don't know why we had to get rid of that. And
it's
like
still
account
in the game.
Progression.
That's the weird thing, because when you
they still say it,
yeah, when you pop off, the character's like, "I'm on fire." It's like, well, it's here. You're just not giving me my little flaming logo, which was sick. Like, I really like seeing that.
Yeah.
Because you could just be like, Anna popped off in that fight. She was healing like crazy, and she nanoed. She's on fire like for a reason. Whereas, like,
yeah,
I feel like especially for supports that sometimes their work goes unnoticed in like a team fight,
that's
and
right.
it's just like, and know they've done a good job if you can see they're on fire.
Yeah, exactly. And then the things like account progression, like I'm still absolutely baffled that they had one of like my favorite account progressions across all multiplayer games. And they're just like, nah, gone now.
Yeah,
I thought, why?
Yeah, there's been some very odd design choices in Overwatch 2. I feel like a lot of live service games tend to forget about these sort of things, which they might seem small in the scheme of things, but they do go a long way. Especially if they were in like the first edition of the game.
That's what I mean. Yes, that's what makes it even weirder. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they just cut it out, or they just like forgot about it. It's weird, but hopefully they will add it soon. Yeah, I'm hoping so.
Yeah, I'm not confident. I don't think they've actually said anything about account progression coming back. They said something about the on fire thing. I might be wrong. Someone can correct me if they have. But yeah, just annoying. Because obviously the same thing's happening with Halo as well. Everybody's waiting for account progression to come through, and it's like, I don't know how this wasn't there at launch. I think a lot of publishers or whatever obviously prioritize the battle pass and feel like that's enough. And it's fine, like for the most part. I still feel like I'm going up, and they're in Overwatch. They've got this kind of prestige battle pass, and once you complete it at level 80, you've got another. You can go up to level 200. where you just get titles, which is nice. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad
That's
that is
cool.
there because it does give you a sense of like long-term progression. Because most time you're not going to get to level 200.
Yeah.
But I also want to have a badge that recognizes my overall playtime. You know. Because so whatever. Because sometimes, and it's like different motivations. Like sometimes you just want to play and you don't have to worry about completing fucking challenges and doing this and that. You just want to play and you want that progress to kind of be recognized as well. So
yeah, definitely.
But I think they've done well overall at recovering like the cadence, considering I think they had a pretty rough launch, and they've included things like you get this kind of secondary auxiliary currency in the battle pass now. It's not the premium currency, but this other currency where you can buy old stuff, which I did the other day, which I think it was like a fair compromise for now, which is good. And they're doing like regular updates now, and
they reduced the price
so,
of those as well, because I remember when they first came out, they were extortionate. It was like an old legendary was like 3,000 of those coins, where now I think they're like 1,800 or something. So like, they're making slowly but surely they're making the right steps, and they are getting there. No, it's good. And yeah, as always, the battle pass, all the battle passes have slapped so far. They've all been very good.
They've all been pretty good. Yeah. I still think they need to sort out the store. It's crazy. Like they learned their lesson at Halo Infinite. For the most part, the prices are like very reasonable now. Sometimes things come out and you can buy them for like 200 coins, and you earn that premium currency in the battle pass now. It's just Halo's just the only analog that's coming to mind. But you know what I mean. I haven't bought a single thing from the store since launch because everything is so stupid expensive.
Yeah, I don't think I have either. Yeah, I bought that one thing, but it was with my comp points that I got for watching the league and just having it on in the background. Yeah, I don't think I have. Oh no, I got the Lucio Hermes. I did buy.
Did you?
I did buy that,
enough.
but that I didn't purchase extra coins for that. They were like left over from like Overwatch 1, and I was just waiting for something cool to come in. So like I didn't make a purchase to get it, but I did technically spend my premium currency.
Yeah. So yeah, overall, there's still nothing like Overwatch on the market, I don't think.
No.
So it's still good, and they're going in the right direction now. But if you've been waiting on the sidelines and maybe you played Overwatch 1, I'd say it's in a good place now. A lot of the new characters are fun. I think we're expecting a new support hero at the start of the new season, which is in like a month, just under a month, maybe 3 weeks now. Hop back in and give it a go. I think you'll probably find yourself enjoying it. It's not as bad as people make out.
I think they confirmed the next 2 heroes being added to the game are supports. So it's 2 supports in a row for the roster coming up.
I think they did say something like that, didn't they? They said that's the ratio. It's going to be like 2-to-1 support to everything else. So for every 3 seasons, 2 will be support for a while, which is good because they need more support.
Although I think they've done support probably the best that genre has done it. Like they've got a really good mix of making them fun to play while also still.
I agree.
Like I do think they've done that really well. That you just need that extra incentive, because even if you do it well, people still don't want to play it. But I don't get it, because like I love playing support. Like I play it 90% of my Overwatch time, and like I don't get bored of it.
Yeah. It's so funny, isn't it? Though? I'm sorry to come back to this, guys. I know we're dragging on Overwatch here, but like, I think this comes into like team games and social play. Like, if you play with your friends, I'm sure this will like resonate a little bit. But like one of our friends was saying, like he was queuing all roles. So, you can get burst tank damage support, randomly, whatever. And he was playing Anna, and Anna's like a skill shot character. If you don't know, you just shoot directly out of your sniper and you heal your teammates if you hit them on impact. You can also shoot enemies and do a little bit of damage, fine. And he said, like, it was getting boring. It's boring. What was it? I can't remember his exact words. It was like,
it's boring shooting
enemies. And I was like, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. You're shooting moving targets. It's mechanically exactly the same. And it's just so funny that is how the gamer brain works. Like the perception of like, if I'm not doing damage numbers, it's boring. It's the same fucking mechanic. You're doing the same thing. Like, it's just so funny.
Yeah, it is weird. Yeah. And like Anna is probably like, I think Anna is probably one of the funnest characters to play in the game, period, across all roles. Like there is so much you can do with Anna. there is so much like outplay potential
Yeah.
and so many cool
Yes.
things like across DPS, tank, and support. I think she's one of my favorite characters to play in the entire game.
Yeah. Hard agree. No, she's
Yeah.
awesome. She's great.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on from Overwatch now. Thanks
Yeah.
for sticking with us. So let's come in then to some of the smaller news stories for this week, the honourable mentions. First up, we had our Capcom show. And during the Capcom show, Exoprimal was announced as a day one Game Pass edition, which is pretty nice.
Yeah.
Do you remember Exoprimal? Are you familiar with what
I
I'm talking
do,
about?
yeah. It's kind of like a wave base, not wave base. It's kind of like is it like Vermintide esque, like that sort of thing with dinosaurs? Is it that, or
Do
is
you know
it,
what? I don't. I feel like it's a bit Anthem-y, you know.
or is it like more like Aliens Fireteam Elite sort of thing? You load into a level, 3 of you,
Maybe.
hordes and shit. You got an objective, you complete it, you load into another level. But obviously you got skill. I think it's more Fireteam Elite, like that sort of vibe. I think it's like hordes. Like you have like tons of dinosaurs running at you, and you're like mowing them down and shit. I think that's what it is. I'm not 100%,
Okay.
but
Yeah, but yeah, I got yeah from the looks of it, it looked kind of Anthem-y. I don't know if it's open world or maybe it is levels, you know. But I think you're probably right. It does strike me as something where it's like level based. What was the other one? The other fucking dinosaur one by Avalanche that was
oh
kind of a bit meh when we
yeah.
played it in the preview. Primal? No, I can't remember.
I
But
know
you're
what
really
you're talking
quick. You're like
about.
really nippy.
Yeah. I'm just gonna put the trailer on in the background while we talk about it, because I'm a good
Yeah,
producer.
that sounds good. That's so good, man. I'm really proud of you. That's great.
But yeah, it looks interesting. I don't know if this is the sort of game that's gonna hold my attention. Oh yeah, dude, look at it. He's literally mowing down like 1,000 dinosaurs. Yeah, yeah, it's like horde based stuff, but it's like it's like you go in as a squad. Each of you have got a role. Tank, DPS.
Yeah.
That sort of shit.
Yeah.
It looks like it could be a bit of fun, and I think this is the perfect game to launch into Games Pass, because it's not really something I would ever spend money on. No offense to the devs, but this year is just stacked, and it's just not the sort of thing I'm going to spend 60 quid on. But it's the sort of thing I'm gonna probably play for a little bit if it does pop into Games Pass. Like,
this looks alright, actually.
It looks fun.
This looks better than I thought than it looks before.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks like it could be a bit of fun. 4-player.
And you know what? Yeah, it looks like it. And you know what? Capcom have been on a roll for like the last 5 years.
Yeah, they've been cooking. Yeah.
But this is such a weird premise for a game. Why are there portals in the sky? Why are dinosaurs falling out of those portals in the sky? What's going on?
Yeah, why is like futuristic robot suits and shit? What time period are we in? Like, this is mental.
I don't know. Yeah, it's just.
But
yeah,
shit, man. You can't deny watching a trailer like this that it just looks fun. It looks like some mind melting fun. It's something I might hop on for like a week or something like that. I'm not certain of the release period, but if this comes out, between stuff and I haven't picked up anything, there's no reason why I'm not going to hop on this and have a good time for a week or two. I also just saw there was a robot samurai class, so I actually think I might pre-order
this. Let's go. Yeah, I'm not even going to play on Game Pass. I'm just going to buy it now.
Just straight up buying it. But yeah, no, I saw this popped up and I was kind of excited. And I think this is it's like a revival of it used to be a really popular game, didn't it? It's quite an old game now, and I think it's like a sequel or a revival of it, of quite a beloved franchise.
No. We're talking about Dino Crisis.
I think I might be talking about Dino Crisis. Yeah. Ignore me.
Although, so the producer of that series was involved in the development and production of Exoprimal. I just have that knowledge to the top of my head. I'm not reading that from anywhere. I just know that.
Yeah. Okay, 17th to the 19th of March is an open beta for anyone interested.
Dang, I thought this was coming out in March, and that would be pretty perfect. But it's coming out in July, which makes this game doomed. I don't know what they're thinking.
Yeah,
that's a shame.
Yeah.
That's 1 month after Diablo.
After. Okay.
Yeah. Like maybe this strikes me as the type of game where like if they get good progress, they bring the game forward. Like to like a week before Diablo, do you know what I mean? So to try and get some
give it like an early
engagement.
access release maybe as well.
I mean, maybe we still give it a go. You know, well, it's about 5 weeks after Diablo. You know, maybe Diablo flops. You know, maybe we complete all the content in that time. Who knows? You know, you never know. Whatever. I think it's not for everyone, and you know, this is definitely one of those Game Pass games. 4-player co-op.
Yeah, it's perfect.
They love putting these in Game Pass day one.
Yeah.
Fabulous. All right. The second thing is that Rare. Well, so not only did they announce like their season 9 and what's going on with that, you know, the fifth year anniversary. It's pretty crazy, isn't it? 5 years that game's been out on the seas. They are making a documentary called Voyage of a Lifetime. It's the second one now from Xbox. The first one being the Psychonauts Odyssey, like it's a 28 episode documentary from the Psychonauts team, you know, over at Double Fine. I watched a couple actually. I quite like video game documentaries. They're so hot right now. You know. It's the same thing. You can tell that there's Microsoft money that's gone into this one. It doesn't like the Psychonauts one it's good, and they filmed it in a really quite fun. It's been edited together in a really funny way. It's kind of like The Office. I don't know, in kind of its presentation a little bit. But this one has got like Microsoft money in it. Like it's very high production value. The Sea of Thieves one, and obviously with the cycle that Sea of Thieves has had so far, I think there's really. Yeah, that's really interesting. I hope they don't shy away from the criticism that the game got on day one and like what the team were thinking in the lead up to launch. And
no, they won't.
You know, obviously
that's part of the rags to riches story, isn't it? You know, they'll definitely include all the negativity around release and the fact that they crunched down and got the shit together and turned it around. I think it's almost the entire point of the documentary, isn't it? That it went from being a lackluster release to, you know, one of the top sort of 20 games on Steam for 5 years running almost, you know. Very consistent spot near the top.
So I think there's definitely an interesting story to tell there, and I think, you know, with a lot of these service games, the ones that do swim rather than the sink. I was like, this is going to be a really good.
Nice.
Yeah, this is going to be a really good pirate, like fucking metaphor, whatever. Are the ones that like have an area of novelty, and Sea of Thieves is like definitely got that. Like, there's nothing. I don't think there's anything really like Sea of Thieves. I mean, like, you know, there are still parts of the game which are real, like, not for everyone, and some which I would say are objectively weak. Like the gunplay to me, and the melee combat is objectively weak. But the rest of it is, I can't fault really the rest of it. I think the exploration, the storytelling now, the quests, like the progression systems, they're all really, really good now. And obviously the naval combat remains really good, and this kind of, you know, facilitative approach towards co-op is really good as well. But there are some ones which I would say do a lot right, but don't really have any novelty. Like, it's just like another fucking looter game, and it feels good. It's great, you know, shooting feels good, but it doesn't speak to anyone necessarily. If you've seen what I'm saying,
Sea of Thieves has like a charm to it, like a specific charm to it.
Yeah.
And
where I'm going with this is, well, you know, I think that's part of that was driven by the business model that they made, that they decided to go ahead with Sea of Thieves. I mean, that was one of the big criticisms levied against it for day one. Of obviously not enough content in the game. You know, it's still sitting at like 69 on Metacritic, I think. You know, and the big thing was like not enough content. But you know, ultimately the decision with that game was like, we're going to like create a loosey-goosey sandbox, and then we're going to develop the roadmap with the community in mind. Like, that's the whole thing. And a lot of games say that, but they don't really mean it. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like a loose commitment. It's like, oh, we've added like a cactus to that room because players said they wanted more greenery in the map. It's like it's not really like well, it's not fucking substantial, is it? Whereas like Rare scrapped their whole plan and they were like, okay, we're gonna have AI controlled ships. That was like the big one because initially they said no, like seeing ships on the horizon is a PvP thing. It creates tension, and we feel like that's better. And the community was very vocal about wanting AI ships as well. And ultimately, they made it work because they made skeleton ships, which look very visually different. So you can tell when there's a player versus a skeleton ship. And that's part of what makes I think the idea of this documentary very interesting to me because they've pulled off that model. I would say maybe more successfully than maybe anyone. I mean, maybe. I'm thinking like the big boys, like maybe Fortnite, maybe. I mean, do they listen to the community or do they just do what the fuck they want? Because they have such pulling power now. I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like Fortnite don't necessarily listen. Well, I think they do, probably. I'm not that in tune with it, but I think Fortnite they just have a lot. They just have a lot on their doorstep. They have everyone knocking on their door to get into their game, and they have what do they call it when you do something with another company? Collaboration. They have like collaborations just like, coming out of their ass, so they can just pick whatever they want from like the most popular franchises. So I feel like they just can do whatever. But yeah, I think Sea of Thieves in terms of like actively listening to the community and making it work based on community feedback and genuinely adding that stuff to the game. Yeah, I think that they're kind of unparalleled. I think they've probably done it one of the best. I think like Warframe did it quite well. I think Warframe took a bit. It was quite slow to get started, and then they listened to the community and added a lot of stuff and really pumped their game with the right stuff. I think that's another one. But definitely, I think Sea of Thieves is probably the best it's been done in terms of that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that'd be really interesting. I may watch that at some point. Depends how long it is. Actually, I'll tell you what. Quick shout out to the I don't know if you've seen this, Tim. You know that they announced the Xbox anniversary thing that we watched back at like the end of 2020. It's about 20 years of Xbox, where it was. They released that Xbox show, like the documentary. It was like 8 episodes long, really tight and compact. Like I think there were 40 minutes per episode. It was really good. Just if anybody hasn't watched that and you're an Xbox fan, like I would. Go and watch it. Like it's not so long, but it was just really good. Like straight up because it goes into like the history and the drama behind Microsoft inventing Xbox, and then how that led into 360 and obviously original Xbox One as well. But it was just like I said, game documentaries are so hot right now. Yeah. I think it's on YouTube. So
okay.
Yeah. All right, final shout out then before we move on to some of the bigger stuff. Lemnis Gate was shut down. I'm legitimately bummed. About this. I'm pretty sure we spoke about this on the show when it first launched. Because it was I think it was maybe a Game Pass release. And man, what are your thoughts on that? You take the lead.
Yeah. I mean, my thoughts on this aren't really substantial. I didn't really love this game as much as like I think you and a couple other of our friend group that were playing it. I played it a couple of times. It was a unique idea. It was fun. Ultimately, it was pretty jank though. But I do like what they were going for, and I did have fun with the game. So it doesn't it's not ripping my heart out that it's shutting down, but it is sad to see a very inventive project like this, not really succeed. And yeah, ultimately get shut down because it was a decent game, like genuinely. So yeah, it's definitely sad to see, but yeah, doesn't hurt me personally too much, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'm just like I get upset by the murder of
creativity.
Creativity, yeah, that's right, exactly. Man, maybe we should call that a podcast episode.
The murder.
That's pretty dramatic, isn't it?
Yeah. Sounds like a Netflix
documentary. Yeah, that's going to be the name of the documentary after the Activision Blizzard merger goes through.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, because there's been a long string now, hasn't there? We spoke about this a few weeks back. Loads of some other games as a service games have just been wiped off the face of the earth. That they had good ideas, but like didn't quite get a perfect landing, and as a result, just died. I'm totally with you. Lemnis Gate. The reason why it was the biggest difficulty with the game is that it felt like a bad console port. The aiming felt all over the place, but man, in concept, it was so cool. I like a game of chess. For those who don't know, it was like you had it looks like a hero shooter on the front. I think that there was this like 6 characters or something, and you each have 1 round as each character. And you can pick them in any order you want, I believe. But you start the round and you're both on the clock as 1 character, so it's a 1v1 essentially. And then that round will end. But the replay will continue to play, so it's like a time manipulation sort of thing. So you play the second character, and your first character will still do the thing that you sort of did in the first round, and you play the second one, and then you play the third, and then you've got the other 2 still doing the round. And so by the end of it, you've got your 5 versions of your previous self doing what they did, and 5 versions of the enemy doing what they did, and whoever had the most kills by the end of it, or did objectives, won. And it was just so unique. There's just a layer of strategy there that I've never played before. The closest thing I can think of was Super Time Force. That obviously wasn't a PvP game, but it's similar in sort of concept. One of those early Xbox One indie games. I think that was Capybara Studios. And yeah, man, the novelty was it was so good. There was a really killer idea there. And you can play duos as well. You can play 2 versus 2, which was really, really cool. Yeah, I just loved what it was going for. And I'm just really sad because when I now start to think as well, obviously we spoke about Knockout City closing. I'm like, for fuck's sake. God, I mean,
Yeah.
like obviously I wasn't maining these games, but I really enjoyed them. And I always liked the idea that I could come back to them at some point. Because Knockout City, again, super novel. Nothing like it. Dead now. We can never play that game again.
Yeah, it's definitely sad to see. It just shows how like competitive the gaming industry is. And if you don't lean towards like a specific type of thing, it's really hard to keep retention and to keep players coming back. But then equally, if you do that mainstream thing, it's so competitive to get inside it now as well. Like Outriders is another perfect example of that. It went for the mainstream. It went to do things that were popular at the time, but ultimately died out before anything else. So it's a weird thing, the gaming market and the gaming industry. It's hard to be creative and succeed. I think especially as a live service. I think you can be creative and succeed if you've just got a start finish game, or like we've seen so many roguelites like pop up just out of nowhere that are just extraordinary. Like you never would have thought, games like Hades or Hollow Knight would be as mainstream and as popular and peak at the forefront of video games, would you? But they are, and I think that's because they're not live service as well. I think it's especially live service things that struggle. Even though Lemsip wasn't live service, but yeah. The end of the story is, it's hard to be creative and to keep it going. Which sucks.
But I think to a degree, multiplayer games do fall on that continuum, don't they? Because they require a higher level of commitment usually, and I think that's the problem. And that's not to let's not oversell how safe single player games can be, because it's harder to get people in the door. They're usually not free, in the same way. Lemnis Gate wasn't, but it was on Game Pass. I understand that. But I think there is risk to single player games as well. I see your point overall though, and it does make me think that perhaps we are getting to that breaking point with games as a service. Where the pendulum is going to start to swing backwards now, where there's so much. There's so much of the market is getting sucked up by the 5 or 6 biggest players in the market. There's nothing left, and there's no space to try and compete in these either, 4-player co-op games or these live service games or even like multiplayer games, unless you're going really big and going for something, perfect or have an established audience or IP. We might see the pendulum swing back in the other way, in the way that things were back in like 2005, 6, 7, where there were these bigger single player games coming out a lot. And, even you look at this year and I think, I mean, I'm hesitant to put Hi-Fi Rush in this pile, but I'm going to anyway. You know, Hi-Fi Rush, and then we've got like the Dead Space remake, Resident Evil 4 remake. You know, those are literally like early 2000s games anyway, or even
Yeah.
earlier, actually, in the case of Resi 4. Then we've got
Yeah.
like Starfield, Spider-Man, Final Fantasy. You know, there's a lot of like big single player games. You know, so I just think it's quite interesting that that might happen. And I'm not saying that's better or worse. You know, because a lot of these games are big and expensive in a way that makes barrier to entry higher than free to play service games. So,
Mm.
you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I do agree. And I definitely feel like gaming itself is starting to shift away from that as well, like away from live service stuff. I do feel like um there are a lot of games coming out now that do just want to tell a compelling story and tell it well, or do it from like a single player perspective, and stuff like that. It's definitely becoming more and more common. I mean, for the last like 4 or 5 years, I think some of the biggest games, just period, have just been single player action adventure games on both fronts, from like Xbox and PlayStation. So yeah, it's hard to tell like whether we're shifting away from live service and that sort of stuff is starting to sort of fall out of fashion, um, which I think is probably a good thing to an extent. I think live service could use a little bit of a break, and it will encourage people. It will encourage developers and companies to actually put a bit more thought and a bit more effort into these games when they do release them. Because right now, and for the last quite a while, live service has just been, people really do just pump stuff out very quickly. There's been so many like shooter live service games and team shooters and stuff like that that just get pumped out and just die off quite quickly. An example that pops in my head immediately was that Road Company game that we played. Like, just think
Oh
how
yeah,
many
yeah,
things like that come out and then they just don't survive. They just don't live. And I think that's because like people are just jumping on the bandwagon. And I think if you take a bit of a pause from that, people would take more time and effort, and these things will become more of a novelty. So,
that's right.
yeah, definitely.
And like, especially if you think that for really the last 15 years, publishers have felt that like these multiplayer games were the safe option. They were the safe bet, for money and engagement, some microtransactions here and there, maybe. Because and that's not, again, and I'm not to downplay, there is immense risk with the sort of games that like Sony does lean into, like these massive single player tentpole games. Those are risky because if they don't hit, like they have to sell millions and millions and
Well,
millions
Forspoken
to make
is a
back.
perfect example of this, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And arguably, I think that's why you can, arguably, I think that's maybe why there's a stronger association, and it's why we see a lot of people clamoring for those sorts of games, because you don't see those games flop as much because so much polish and effort has to go into them, because if they fail, they really fail.
Yeah.
Barring like a subscription service edition or something like that. So yeah, interesting times. We'll have to see. Oh, that was what I was going to say to close the conversation off. The what this is making me think of is that upcoming battle royale sort of shooter game, the finals by
Oh
like the
yeah.
X Dice
Yeah.
guys, and that's like, really bringing together a couple of genres in a way which is like quite unique. And I like we said this on the show before, but like I'm really like all for devs just slamming genres together and just trying to make them work. And I think the finals has some of that energy going on, where it's like, Levolution, Battlefield Destruction with a battle royale. Perfect.
It looks
Great.
cool.
Let's go.
Yeah, I've been watching some videos on it, and it looks very cool. I've seen some like really like unique plays and ways to just like outplay people, like you said, by just like
Yeah.
environmentally just being able to destroy
And
anything.
Siege.
Yeah, Siege,
Siege, yeah.
yeah. And it just looks really crispy as well. It looks like it plays really well. Like it's hard to say whether or not something like that will stay alive. With the big competitors still being at the top. But it looks interesting, definitely. And I have seen plans that they have said they do plan on putting it to consoles. It won't be immediately. It'll be PC only for a little while. But yeah, I've definitely got my eye on that. It looks interesting. The finals,
yeah, no doubt, no doubt. All right, then let's move into some of the bigger stuff for the week. So the first thing I wanted to touch on was that there was a show by Paradox Interactive, publisher. They publish a lot of like strategy games, and there was like we heard whispers like last year that Xbox were in talk with Paradox for something. Don't know if it was just like Game Pass additions or acquisitions or whatever it was. Well, this show was literally Paradox presented by Xbox, or Paradox Showcase presented by Xbox or something, which is kind of weird. But I watched a bit of it, but I didn't see like any notice. Like I didn't see any acknowledgement that Xbox was even there, so I don't know what exactly was presented by Xbox about it. Other than this, the 2 games are coming to Game Pass. One of them being an exclusive by the looks of it. It might be a timed exclusive. Never really know with these fucking things. But the first one being City Skylines 2, which is actually a big deal for the strategy and sim community.
People love that.
I know the first one is big. That's Game Pass day one, PC and Xbox, I think. And the second is the Lamplighters League, which is this really cool stylized, like 40s, 50s XCOM like game.
Interesting.
It's like tomb raiding sort of style. It looks really interesting. It did. It looked legitimately pretty cool. So I'll be keeping my eye on that. And that's again day one Game Pass.
Nice.
But so nice little additions. I like that Xbox is able to do that. I've said this before that like I think sometimes back in the and it added to I think Xbox's all or nothing kind of strategy that they always had, saving everything up for a big show and dumping it all there. But Game Pass kind of gives them an interim where they can announce small things through the year. Like Exoprimal was at Capcom's, and now these two are at the Paradox there, and we just have little bits of additions throughout, which I think is really nice.
Yeah.
I wanted a timestamp for that, but I totally missed it. Oh,
that's all right.
Oh no. Okay, I'll just estimate. We spoke about this as well. Neon White appears to be coming to Xbox, which is nice. It's been like 2 years, I think, since that game come out, because there's fucking Nintendo has a year timed exclusivity. Oh, now it's coming to PlayStation. Oh, now they have 1 year timed exclusivity, and then it comes to Xbox. It's so irritating. This thing that happens.
It is irritating. Yeah. Especially as back then, I would have probably liked to play a game like Neon White, and it's coming in a fully stacked year now. Fantastic.
Great, yeah, brilliant.
But nevertheless, it's quite exciting. I've had my eye on this game since it first came out. It looks really, really interesting. And again, you talk about mashing up genres. This one definitely stood out as one that did it very well and kind of nailed it. So yeah, I'll be quite excited. And I think this genuinely could be quite soon, because I think this was rumored a while back that this was going to happen. I think I remember seeing the news, and they were literally just like, and even like a while back when it was rumored, they thought that was going to happen very soon after that rumor. So like this could be genuinely like next month or something like that, which is quite exciting.
Yeah, hopefully it's a day one Game Pass edition. We'll see. I think we will actually have a couple like this as well. Like I think we're going to have a couple of surprise drops. And Phil Spencer in his he's had an interview. I thought I spoke about. Yeah, Ghostwire. That's what it's coming around to. And then Sifu as well is coming. But I can't actually remember if that's coming to Game Pass or not. I get the feeling it might not be actually.
What, Sifu or Ghostwire?
Sifu.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was about to say Ghostwire. That'd be weird if that didn't come to Games Pass.
That Ghostwire definitely will. Yeah, I get the feeling it isn't for some reason, which is a bit disappointing because and like people are going to be like, oh, buy some games, buy the smaller games. It's like, ugh, look, if a game has been held off my platform for 2 fucking years,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right. Like I'm not hyped for this anymore. Like if it comes to Game Pass, hell yeah. Like I'll play it and I'll give you your engagement bonus because because they look good. But like it's been held off the platform for so long that I'm especially in a year like this, I'm not. No, I'm not going to buy it. But yeah, it doesn't look like it is, and it's 30 quid. So it's like Sifu I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, both my brothers bought and played that game, and they said it was great. Dom loved it.
Yeah,
I heard it's really, really difficult though.
yeah,
But,
yeah. I've heard that.
yeah.
But yeah, no, it looks very, very good. Actually, speaking of difficult, I should have said this at the top. I only played it for a little bit, but I played like the opening half an hour of Wolong.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you've booted that up yet.
I haven't, not yet.
That's feeling pretty tough so far.
Yeah, I have heard it is. Yeah, yeah.
It's like real Sekiro vibes from it, and Sekiro was bone crunching. Like I said, I only give it a little go, so I haven't quite fallen into rhythm of it yet. But it's it has a different flow to like Souls games.
Yeah, yeah. From what I can tell, I don't think people think it's not as hard. I think it's one of the easiest of its type, of its genre. If you compare it to Elden Ring and Souls and Born and all that sort of stuff. Just from the fact that I think co-op is the most easily accessible that they've ever done it in that sort of genre. And I think you can just kind of just go through the game on co-op. But yeah, no, I hear it's hard. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's as bone crunching as something like Sekiro or anything like that. No, not quite.
Yeah, yeah, seemed cool though. I was a bit underwhelmed with how it looked.
Yeah, it doesn't look fantastic. It kind of looks fine, but like
it
it's
just looks a bit washed out as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Like even when I was like doing the combat stuff, combat feels really good. Animations are all really lovely. Like it's nice and punchy. But like when I was doing it, there was like kind of a lot going on like around the animations, and I was like, it's kind of like even from like a direction level, I was like, there's like a bit too much. It's not really emphasizing like the punchiness of the combat that's coming through from the audio and the feedback. Like there's like a lot of weird, like not particle effects, but like just other VFX, I suppose. Yeah, like I say, it's fine. It looks fine. But yeah, it's not a looker.
No. Been a few games like that this gen, haven't there? With and this year as well with Wild Hearts and now Wolong. I feel like they both kind of fall into the same trap where they're both just they don't. We haven't really fully merged into that next gen yet, have we? Especially considering how long these consoles have been out. I'm getting a bit sick of it now. Like, can we just make the merge? Like, can we just do it, please?
Yeah. Well, I suppose to a degree as well. Like, I assume you're talking about like cross-gen, but at the same time, like, if the game, even if something did target next gen only, and it started development on old consoles, like before even they got dev kits, it might be that they were unwilling to scrap for some of that, some of that progress. So by that nature, it's just we're not far enough into the gen yet, arguably, depending on who you are and okay, right. So let's move on to some of the bigger stuff then. So really got, I think there's like three sort of bigger stories here. First being Redfall, second being ABK, and third being Starfield and the showcase. So let's start with Redfall then. What time are we on? 58. So this was really interesting. I think we spoke about this last week. That a load of content creators and I think some of the press as well were invited and flown out for like a Redfall preview. I don't know if they got hands on, but nobody's speaking about it. Everybody's posting the tickets and the little invites they got, which was really cute, by the way.
Yeah,
it was really cute. Everybody got like these little tickets and this fucking like Redfall merch. I was like, God, I'm so jealous. There was like they were sending out like backpacks with like badges on for each of the characters and like little, some of the iconography and stuff. I was like, God damn it! Yeah, one day, yeah. And one content creator, I don't think they were meant to, Mr. Ruffle Waffle, looking at you, said that he couldn't share impressions until March the 22nd. Nobody else has said that, so I assume that probably wasn't meant to be said out loud.
Okay.
So impressions landing on the 22nd of March, I guess, which is 10 days. About Redfall.
That's exciting. I'll be watching that like a fucking hawk.
Yeah, I will as well. I'm so nervous. I'm so nervous about Redfall.
Like genuinely, I really want that game to succeed. That game has got everything that I would potentially just love. In a video game.
It's got all the ingredients.
Yeah, if it comes together, if they brew that shit well in a nice little witch's cauldron, I'm excited, but equally nervous. And I think a part of that nervousness is not just I want the game to succeed so I can have a fun game and a great game. It's also just it's just going to be, if it doesn't do well, it's going to be so negative for Xbox. It's unreal. Like Jesus Christ, like we won't be able to live that down. So yeah.
I gotta, it will set the tone for the Xbox Bethesda acquisition, I think, in a way which isn't fair, considering we just had Hi-Fi Rush. And also, the headlines will be like, is Xbox forcing their developers to make too many co-op games? Things like that.
Yeah,
we all know what it's going to look like if Redfall doesn't look well. If it gets anything below 80, I think that's really what we're going to see, because Arcane's games are typically always above 80. I think Prey was its lowest at maybe like 83 or 84, depending on the platform you're looking at, because I think PC version was a bit buggy at launch. But generally the reception post-launch as a Prey's kind of become a cult classic. So yeah, I'm totally with you, man. And not only that, it goes a level deeper as well, because one of our friends counterpicked my Redfall pick on Fantasy Critic. So, if it does badly, so he keeps giving me shit because he thinks it's going to be shit. So like, I really can't let him have this. And I'm so annoyed. Like, I think it really goes to show how much damage the first showing, or like maybe the media kind of presentation or media impressions of the game, how much damage they did to the kind of perception of it. Because like one of our friends asked me the other day, it's like, yeah, I don't know, I think it looks kind of okay, but I don't really know if I want to play another Back 4 Blood game.
Yeah, I know. It just cements in their brain like what it is.
That's it. It's done now. That is it.
Yeah.
Like the damage is done.
Yeah. No, it is a shame. Yeah, it's very hard. And I think that's a lot because that person also doesn't really keep his ear to the ground in terms of gaming news and updates as well. Like I feel like if you got a bad impression from it, but you still look up gaming news, you still follow stuff, even to a small extent, you'll start to see some changes, and maybe your mind will change as well on it. But like, he really just, outside of like Facebook comments, he doesn't keep up with gaming news, so that's why it's so cemented in his brain.
No, but I do think most people are like that, though. That's the annoying part. Like, and I don't mean that in like in a derogatory way. It's whatever. But like if the news that you get is mostly from big media publications like Eurogamer, or whatever is VGC, whatever. Especially these ones which like are really like happy to lean into negative Xbox press because it generates clicks. They will write headlines like Redfall's Back 4 Blood looking gameplay underwhelms. Just shit like that. Redfall looks like a Xbox 360 game. Obviously I'm being hyperbolic, but some people will read that and that'll be the sole impression they get of a game, and that's it. Like, going into it, the tone is now set. And like we've always said with Arcane games, like they're so difficult to market properly, and I guess maybe it's a good thing then that we are getting some of these. Maybe that's why. Maybe Xbox were like, you know what? Fuck this. Let's get people down there. We'll pay for the flights. Come play for the fucking game, and then they can just make a bloody YouTube video about how it's not Back 4 Blood.
We'll let them
we spoke about this. Yeah, like we spoke about this. Like that we're literally at the fucking. They had their own video, and then at the developer direct, both times the devs of Arcane have gone out their way to be like, yeah, this isn't like a horde game. It's not like Left 4 Dead. They said on one of them like, oh, it's a bit more like Far Cry. In terms of its structure. but it doesn't matter, man. Like it's still stuck. Like that's what I mean.
Mm.
And Developer Direct is like the biggest show that Xbox has ever done that hasn't been an E3 showcase. And like that wasn't enough to update a lot of people's general feelings about the structure of the game, or maybe turn impressions.
Yeah, no, it's rough, but I do think they're doing the right thing. I do think it is a case of like let's just get them to do it for us, you know, and it shows confidence in their product as well. Like I do think a lot of
Right.
people do this. I do think a lot of people do fly people out to play the game or whatever and stuff like that. And it can turn out really negative. Like I've seen, you know, first impressions and like I got flown out, I didn't like it, you know, that sort of thing, you know. But it does show, it shows confidence, definitely. It shows that they're willing to take that extra effort and that step forward to approach people and be like, play the game and we want you to talk about it, you know. So yeah, that is really good, and it can turn out really well because I think Final Fantasy 16 just did this recently as well, and I've been watching all the previews for everyone that got flown out for that, um, and it's really helped the game. Like people, I haven't heard a single negative thing. People are saying from what they provided us, they were like, it looks like it's going to be fucking amazing, like really really good. So fingers crossed it has the same impression for Redfall as well, you know, it'll start to drum up some positive marketing for Redfall.
Yeah, no doubt. No, well said. And I don't get me wrong, like I am an Arcane shill, like straight up.
Yeah.
But I do have a couple of reservations about Redfall.
Mm.
You know, but I had a couple of reservations about Deathloop as well. And overall, you know, that game ended up being like an 85 to me, you know, and obviously it was rated even higher on aggregates. You know, so I had very little reason to doubt them, but like I do have a couple of reservations, particularly about like how I think this is the problem. Sorry, I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent, but this is the problem with like making games. I think they're like single player and co-op at the same time, because you're going to have people who I suspect in these previews they're going to like just force people to play in like co-op.
Mm.
Maybe, but because you will get such a variety of experiences, you're essentially drawing a line. You're like really hampering the median of your own score, because you're more likely to encounter a range of experiences, you know what I mean, rather than like
Yeah.
the single player thing where you valve someone into a combat arena 1 and then valve someone into narrative cutscene 3. Everybody's going to have exactly the same experience pretty much, other than a bit of expression with how you do combat and stuff like that. That makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. Yeah. Yeah. I think a game.
So
Oh yeah, no, you can carry on. You can carry on.
no, I don't know. I don't have much else to say.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, I think a game like Arcane can really benefit from this as well. A game like Arcane, a game like Redfall made by Arcane can really benefit from this, because like you said, they give everyone the same gameplay slice, but if the game works how previous Arcane games have, every player can have that gameplay slice and probably approach the situation and do everything in a completely different way. Um, and I think that will just be really good. Like even though they're all getting given the same thing, you know, everyone's impressions and reviews will probably be different and be like, oh, I did this, you know, oh well, I did that. Oh, did you find like the shock rifle like in the basement? And they're like, no, I didn't find that. I just fucking crept through the roof. And one guy's like, I just batted the heads in with a baseball bat. And you know, like,
Yeah, that's right.
you know, like I do think that it can really speak volumes doing this for an Arcane game in like especially. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That well said. Yeah. So, I mean, fingers crossed. Really, I've got high hopes for Redfall. I really hope it does well. It's because, like we said, you know, in terms of the ingredients, all the ingredients going into this for me are pretty perfect. I know some people are getting really hung up on that it's not a hyper realistic, I don't know, game.
And
For
online
them, that's
only
enough to be like trash
as well.
game. Oh yeah, and that, yeah, of course. Yeah.
People got really triggered about that for Suicide Squad as well, and I'm just like, do none of you have internet? I'm like, how you're posting these videos, so you must have internet. What's your problem with being online only? What's your beef, man?
The thing. The thing is, it's a real vocal minority, like and like really vocal. Like the Redfall Twitter account is regularly putting up like little clips here and there, and every time I click on them, there's this one guy who every single time says online only, dead game. For the last like 20 things, and they're like, you're obsessed. Like, why are you going out? You just don't play it. I mean, like, it's not like clearly you've got an internet to access Twitter every fucking 3 minutes, but you know, die on the principle, I guess. Because then other people are like, oh yeah, but what about preservation? I was like, you know, fair point. And you know, but we're not at that bridge yet. You know, maybe in fucking 7 years' time, Arcane says, okay, we're going to make it offline now. Like we've accomplished all we can with it being online to prevent cheating and pirating, essentially. And now we're just going to let it, you know, it's no man's land now. They might do that. Some games have done that before, but some, you know, the preservation angle I do understand. But even then, it's like, if you haven't played it in the first 7 years, are you really going to play it? Or like if you haven't squeezed the value out of something in 7 years, like is there really, like, it's this kind of like hoarding mentality a little bit that some people have, where like they get something and they're like, they've got to keep it just in case. And that's like, that is a problem behavior I'd literally target in therapy, just putting it out there. So it's not healthy. It's not healthy to have that sort of mentality. I get it from like an industry angle, but I don't think it's really a problem from a consumer angle. But who am I to tell you what you're going to do with your money? You know, fine. If you want to be mad about that, that's fine. Okay, let's move on. So that's Redfall. So we should have 19th next week. So next week should be the final week before we hear anything. So we might hear something before then. Okay, yeah, let's do ABK now, and then we can end on a good note. So this was just a little funny thing, little funny old thing. That Sony, that PlayStation, that Jim Ryan.
Oh, is this the one we talked about? Yeah. Oh,
tying. Jim tying his shoelace in the mine.
In the mine?
In the mine.
Mines of Moria.
Smiling. Yeah. Yeah, so essentially they said in their like one of their final submissions to the CMA, you know, you can't trust Microsoft with behavioral remedies, essentially, is what they said. Because it seems like the EU is leaning towards like accepting some of the behavioral remedies that Microsoft is putting forward, because they're really strong, you know, NVIDIA and Switch in particular, those commitments. Whereas the CMA isn't so convinced yet. We don't know. The CMA have said that like, we're not going to fold just because the EU have folded. You know, we'll review it case by case, which of course. But Sony decided to go out there and say, yeah, Microsoft might just patch in bugs into the game, and you can't really regulate that. Even if they hire like an overseer to make sure they are sticking to their contract, they can't realistically manage that. They can't go into the dev teams. It's like, well, I mean, I suppose, you know, you're right. Why? Is there a precedent for people patching in bugs to games? Is there? Yeah. Is someone doing that? Are they?
Why would they do that? It's like, because it's
their own money.
It's their own money. They still want the sales of Call of Duty on PlayStation. Like, what do you not understand about that? Like, unless it's just some like ultimate conspiracy, like, oh, we can get them to buy it on PlayStation. That's £60. Then it's buggy, so they're like, oh damn, we're gonna buy it on Xbox now. So that's £120.
Yeah.
That's the double
right.
profit. No, like it's so stupid. It's almost childish. Like it seems like something a child would say. Like, yeah, it really does. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, it's literally be like, oh, I can't play hide and seek with you because you might track my phone. Yeah. It's like,
you might peek through your hands before you count to 60. And see
that's it. Yeah. Grow up. I know it's just lawyer speak, you know, but it's just pathetic. Like, it's so irritating to watch someone. And also, like I said, like, it's really like, does someone do this? Do they? Does someone intentionally degrade the quality of another platform's game to encourage sales? Because, you know, I mean, I don't think I'm being far-fetched in saying that, like, we've seen the contracts, you know, from the Epic Apple case, and I think earlier from this case as well,
Mm.
that Sony do put stipulations about performance limitations on games they have marketing deals with. And at the time, everybody hand waved and everybody was like, "Oh, that's normal. Everybody does that." But I'm sorry, I haven't seen any evidence of any other platform doing that. I mean, fine.
Yeah.
Like, if you're right, you're right. If Xbox are out there with marketing for Exoprimal and they're saying, "Oh, I can't perform better on the PS5," sure. But like games like Minecraft are performing better on the PS5 right now. Like, this is known. Like, I don't know why, but they are for some reason. So I'm not really getting that impression. And this isn't me being like a little, like like an Xbox zealot. I don't think Sony are aggressive in how they run things.
Yeah.
Like they just are. They just are. That's a fact. And I think that bleeds down into some of these decisions. And for them to be sitting here going like, "God, it would really suck if Xbox did to us what we did to them," which is, let's face it, that's been their thing for the whole of this case, isn't it?
Yeah. This has only popped into their head as a potential route that Xbox could take because they've done it in the past, probably.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it feels like. I mean. Listen to this shit. For example, Microsoft might release, fucking super hypothetical. This is not evidence either. Like, I thought these things are supposed to be factual.
So hypothetical.
Microsoft might release a PlayStation version of Call of Duty where bugs and errors emerge only on the game's final level or after later updates. They might patch bugs in.
Yeah, they might like lace all the PlayStation discs with a small explosive that blows up our console when we put it in.
Yeah, and then from the dust and the remains of the discs, an agent will force them to buy an Xbox with a gun to their head. What if you need to consider these things
in salmonella, so every one of our player base will get food poisoning, severe food poisoning.
Have you considered this, CMA? Have you considered this? What might happen? You've got to be careful. Or later updates. Even if such degradations, so still quoting, even if such degradations could be swiftly detected, any remedy would likely come too late, by which time the gaming community would have lost confidence in PlayStation as a go-to venue for Call of Duty.
Well, no shit. I mean, Microsoft are giving you a deal, but of course they're not going to want. They're still not going to want to be like, yeah, of course. Like, of course we're going to let you market Call of Duty as the go-to place for PlayStation. Of course, like, no, they're going to want the go-to place to be Xbox. So it doesn't mean they're going to make the quality worse everywhere else. They'll just market it to be like, just play it on Xbox. Here's the new Call of Duty, followed by an Xbox logo. They're not going to degrade the performance to do that. That's ridiculous.
And also, did you pick up there that there's like an implication that Call of Duty PlayStation has to be the go-to venue for Call of Duty?
Yeah, no, that's what I was saying. Yeah, it's almost like like they want to sign a deal where Microsoft agree that fine, you can have it, but you still market and you still tell everyone that our platform is the go-to place for Call of Duty. It's like, no,
and you still give us timed exclusivity benefits. Yeah,
we're not gonna do that. But we're definitely not going to fucking patch bugs into your game. You can chill out.
Just like imagine if someone showed up around the desk and started saying that. I'd be like, is like everything okay at home?
Yeah.
Like, have you had breakfast? Like, do you need a massage? I can get someone in. Like,
I mean, we're so
this is nuts.
We can get someone in. We've got plenty of money from our aggressive timed exclusivity deals and contracts.
Yeah, that's it.
We can get a masseuse for everyone, even the coffee boy.
They would have lost confidence in PlayStation as a go-to venue to play Call of Duty. Yeah, that's just crazy. Especially as Xbox is the shooter box. Yeah, like no fucking shit.
Yeah.
Xbox has way more brand association with shooters. That's your fault, to be honest, because all you make is third-person action adventures.
Mm-hmm.
But now when's the last time you made a first-person shooter? I literally can't.
Killzone.
I can't recall one. Killzone. Well, there you go. 2013, 2014 was it?
Yeah.
Don't know. So, what else have we got here? Yeah, Call of Duty gamers could decide to switch to Xbox for fear of playing their favorite game at a second class or less competitive. It just gets better, man. Oh, second class. Oh no. Meanwhile, for the last decade, Xbox players have been locked out of full game modes for a year, map packs for a full year, like zombies things for a full year,
like actual physical like loadouts to play multiplayer with.
Locked out of loadouts, locked out of boosters, locked out of creator class. How fucking petty is that? Like, oh, you can't have an extra creator class.
Yeah.
Stupid. So ridiculous. Like this is like as I didn't think I'd ever be saying this, but this is the most outlandish thing Sony have said so far. It's so plainly stupid and hypocritical. That's the thing. It's really hypocritical that Sony are this hell bent on preventing, which obviously they're going to be. Don't get me wrong, I understand the business of it, but business is fucking stupid. Like everything's a dystopia, we're all gonna die, and this is what is stupid about it. You know.
Jeez.
I feel like I descend into this like every single week when we talk about ABK because it's like everyone's incentivized to act in the best interest of money anyway. Nobody really cares about each other. We're all gonna die. So like, you know, nobody cares about the logic. Well, you know, whatever. It's just money. Okay, final thing then. Let's wrap this up before I have a hernia. The CMA previously said that they estimated that based on their own surveys that 15% of the PlayStation player base would switch platforms if Xbox pulled Call of Duty from PlayStation, if they just made it just exclusive.
It's estimates. Could, hypothetically. I don't understand. Is this not based on facts? Or we just... I don't get it, man. Like,
well, to be fair, this is better than the other one. They literally surveyed people and they said, would you swap? And 15% said yeah.
Yeah, which I don't think is like that bad. Like you'd probably find in the last God knows how long since Sony have been having exclusivity deals and stuff like that, and with Call of Duty, you probably find more of a percentage moved from Xbox to PlayStation to play Call of Duty there. Since that's all been going on. Because let's be honest, like everyone that is playing Call of Duty, majority of them are playing on PlayStation, like right now. Because of what they've done in the past. So
and PlayStation would still be first. Even if 50% did swap, PlayStation would still be first. So I actually don't see this as a counter argument. You know, it ties back into the story last week where Sony were essentially like, I think the actual number was redacted, but it was like the implication was that a large number of their profits come from COD, and that those funds help them essentially pump out their first party stuff, which isn't responsible for the majority of their sales. It's the big hitters like Call of Duty, which is so funny. That is so funny considering that the community is just fucking nuts about exclusives. Like, don't get me wrong, I think it's an important part of the strategy, and we've had this conversation 1,000 times on the podcast. But I am right. We are right. Exclusives are overrated. We are right.
100%.
So anyway, tying it back to the story, that was what the CMA previously said. Xbox ran its own stats and did its own surveys, and they found it was 3%. So clearly, there's some, you know, lack of scientific rigor, you know, going on in the generation of these numbers. You know, not reliable and all that. And again, 3% is tiny. And as well, to close out, I don't know if you saw this this other bit of drama as well. One of the Activision lawyers said on Twitter that the Jim Ryan said, I don't want a new COD deal, I just want to block your merger.
It's ridiculous. But at the end of the day, he's probably going to just take the COD deal when the going gets tough, isn't he? Fine, I'll take it for 10 years. Gimme. Because...
I'll be interested to hear what you're saying when those details get revealed about your exclusivity contracts in the last 4 years.
I have to admit, I feel more confident in the deal going through. Like the more and more this goes on, like I definitely went through a phase where I thought it was looking worse for Xbox. So I feel like it's looking better for Xbox these days. I don't know if you get that impression as well, that vibe of just yeah.
Yeah, it's I a month ago I was like, oh, I don't know anymore. But now I'm kind of back to 50-50. The CMA is looking good, but the CMA was always the final boss, you know.
Yeah.
And Jim Ryan is flying out there, you know, like weekly because they're in the UK as well, obviously, and Jim's from the UK. So you know, we'll have to see. It's going to come down to them. But like again, you know, I'm not going to lose sleep if this doesn't go through. I think a lot of this whole thing has been funny. It's been funny watching both like Microsoft and Sony like tie themselves in pretzels to try and make these arguments. But Xbox are only going to get one chance at a merger of this size. They're only going to get one chance. This is never going to happen again. Like if they get ABK, they're not getting someone like Capcom. They're not, you know, those are foregone conclusions after this point.
Yeah.
Or Warner Bros, you know, which would be, I think, equally as valuable, you know. But this would cement them in the console market like for a long time. So, you know, we'll see.
Yeah.
Okay, let's put a pin in that until next week, I guess. And come around to the final story, Tim. The Starfield release date got announced with a little trailer. I've got a link for you there if you wouldn't mind popping up. It's just like a 3-minute the announcement. I'm sure you saw it, where they announced the release date as being September the 6th, and then they also confirmed a Starfield Direct on June the 11th. Quite a bit I want to talk about here, actually. I mean, have you seen this trailer? Did you watch it?
I have not. No.
You can watch it now.
Yeah, I will. I am.
Good.
No, yeah, I didn't get around to this.
So, you know, they just showed a couple of bits and bobs about the game. And Todd Howard came out and said, yeah, you know, you've been waiting a long time. I get it. It's hard.
That looks so cool. All those floating rocks around that, like, stone statue, like, palace thing.
It does, yeah. And while he's talking, there's some gameplay running in the background, and it's looking good, man. It's looking better. There's polish that's gone into this since we last saw it. And do you know what I even think? As per the thumbnail of the video, I think that footage looks 60 frames. Really? I'm good at, my eyes are really attuned to this. Yeah, my eyes are really attuned to this. And I obviously, people are going to be like, oh, well, you can't tell because the YouTube video is only running at 30. Look, I can tell.
Yeah.
And I'm like 90% confident the game's running at 90. You're a bit ahead of me on the stream, so I can't tell when you're seeing. But when he's in the background behind Todd,
it looks smooth. Yeah.
Doesn't it? Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that looks 60 to me.
We're playing the game all the time. Shout out over here to lead producer.
That's what I thought as well.
Old school fans who may remember
Tim Lamb. I don't know why you're wearing a golfing hat indoors, but wearing like a visor hat. It's so weird.
He's a legend, man. But I mean, it's looking good. Like, not only is obviously looking smooth, but also just seeing the gameplay, like more natural gameplay, like that, like more organic rather than something scripted. Kind of got me a bit excited as well, just seeing people run around in the world and it just looking pretty. And
I like that he was like flying around and like aiming and stuff like that, so you can like shoot while just like floating around and shit. That's great fun. And yeah, dude, this is looking. Oh, they got like the quick select. Yeah, I remember seeing something about this, the Fallout 4 like quick select thing.
Yeah, which actually, because I'm playing Last of Us 2 at the moment, it's exactly like that, like selection wheel. It's like the D-pad with weapons further outwards, but I mean, it's looking good.
That game's going to be, I hope it's going to be so good. When I was just seeing like all like the wildlife and the aliens, and then you're fighting like the space bandits and all that kind of shit, and it just looks like it could just wrap up
variety of
such
guns.
A ridiculously cool package, and like all like the perks and abilities and stats and character background you can choose. Oh, yes, please.
That's how I felt as well. For some reason, I came away from this 2-minute clip like really hyped, even though they showed like nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I'm absolutely there for you and with you.
Thanks, man. That's nice.
Yeah,
That's really nice to hear. What do you think about Starfield, though?
I'm there for you, man. If you're ever having a breakdown. No, it looks good, man. And I had the same reaction. It just puts a smile on my face whenever I can see more about this game. I just feel like even though it's close and it keeps getting delayed and stuff like that, we're still a relatively far distance from it, half a year or whatever. It's still, I still feel like we haven't seen much on it, and it just makes me smile whenever I do get to see more. Yeah, it looks great, and I just want it.
Yeah, I want it as well.
Do.
Yeah. And there's like a degree of like novelty to it, isn't there? Like there's nothing quite like that. Like it looks very new. And again, like when's the last time? I know Bethesda Game Studios are, but like what a BGS game is, because they do their own thing. Nobody really operates in the same area that they do. But even just like the RPG, like when's the last time you played like a proper immersive RPG? And we kept saying, Outer Worlds is probably the closest thing. That was like 2018.
Yeah,
and that was much smaller in scope.
Definitely. I heard the port for that's kind of shit. Actually, they did another one.
Yeah, I heard that as well.
I heard it's running really badly, and that obviously it was really negative. They're charging for it as well, so not a good look for that.
Yeah,
which is a shame.
Yes, Private Division destroying the legacy of Xbox first-party titles.
Yeah,
painful. That's why the second one's going to be exclusive, and it's going to be better than ever. The kids.
It'd be interesting to see how that game will survive in an ecosystem where Starfield exists, though. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Right? It's kind of weird because they do overlap in a lot of ways, and with the next one being bigger and better as well, in scope with more money pumped into it, it's probably looking more Starfield-esque than ever. I wonder if they'll lean more into different tropes to separate it, like lean it more into like comedy and the goofiness that it kind of had already, but like lean it more into that to separate it from Starfield. Yeah.
That's a good shout. I think there's a good chance it might just lean into like its satire a bit more. Right? Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking. Especially after the trailer they like showed of it, which was hilarious. Where they're like, fucking miles off, but check out this slow motion, like man running, stuff like that. Yeah.
But having said that, it's Obsidian, and I'm like as confident in Obsidian. I'm more confident in Obsidian than I am like pretty much every other developer in the industry. It's like up there with like Insomniac and Naughty Dog levels of confident. Like, I just don't think they miss.
They don't miss often. No, if ever.
Which is crazy for the variety of games that they do.
Yeah.
Pentiment, Grounded, Avowed, Outer Wilds. Yeah.
Pretty bonkers.
All right, so let's bring this back to a bit more about Starfield then. I've got a list of bullet points here. I wanted to kind of get through that, and the first thing is kind of so they announced the release date, 6th of September. I guess let's start there. Is this technically a delay? I just want to ask you: is this technically a delay, Tim?
Yeah,
it is technically a delay. Why is this technically a delay?
Because they showed it at that conference when they were like, everything being shown is coming out in the next 1 year from this point onwards, and this is not. This is a year, more than a year after that, where they showed it.
But it never had a release date, Tim.
Yeah, but technically, based off that, this is a delay, and I don't think you can argue otherwise.
Yeah, it's a bit of a funny one, but I don't blame anyone for calling it a delay. Yeah, like it's like it didn't technically have a release date, but like this is kind of the whole argument that's going on at the moment with the Xbox showcase and how things have landed this year, and with Starfield kind of being the final. I don't want to say nail in the coffin, but the final straw on the camel's back. Is that the expression? Hay on the back of the horse. Can you imagine that? One piece of straw breaking your back.
No, it's got a lot of straw on its back deck. It was the final straw.
I
that
know,
broke.
but that still doesn't make sense to me.
Oh, okay.
I don't
yeah,
know.
I guess. Yeah, I thought you just meant the expression where someone just put a piece of straw in a camel and it just snapped its back.
It's like a lead straw. Yeah. So this is the whole thing that's going on at the moment. Yeah, the Starfield being sort of the final bit. And you know, and about maybe if I had to estimate, maybe half of the games that they showed in the window haven't made, maybe like 40%. And people, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people. I get both sides. A lot of people are hand waving it, like games get delayed, and you know, there was a disclaimer. You know, in that big screenshot they shared with like all of the games that are coming out in the next 12 months, there was a little disclaimer at the bottom that said targeting release in the next 12 months, and it's like okay.
Yeah.
Like, I guess you can wriggle out of this, I suppose, but like, if you're going to regularly, yeah, exactly. If you're going to regularly tell me something's happening and then it doesn't happen, I don't care how many disclaimers you give me. That's bad planning.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Don't say that then. Say 18 months if you think that there's, you know, if I'm getting, because I would have to make so many assumptions to give you that wiggle room. Like, you'd have to, like, so you were very confident that all of these 16 studios, you know, whatever the number is, were going to land before that date, were you? Like, you were really that confident. I don't know. It's not the end of the world. I'm not losing sleep over it, but like, I don't think they can do this again, because they just fuck with the expectations too much. Like that's all it is. They said this is happening, and then a lot of it didn't happen. That's all.
Yeah, and especially as that's like the first time a show's been done in that format as well. Like most shows, they're just like, this is what we're working on, this is a release date, or there's no release date. No one has ever come out and done like a show and just been like, everything here is the next year. You know, like that's a statement that's never really been done before, and that's kind of what set the tone of the show and was kind of like the main theme of the show was, this is the next year of Xbox, and then oopsie, it's not. It's just like, well,
yeah,
that show kind of was a load of BS then, wasn't it? Like, let's be honest.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take away from like the content that was obviously there. Like a lot, you know, some like Redfall was there, that did hit. Like Redfall and Hollow Knight were arguably two of the bigger ones. Hollow Knight we haven't heard anything about. That's one of the ones that falls into the MIA account side of things. But yeah, it was like, and because there were the big delays that year with Redfall and Starfield, there was kind of a feeling that was something they were doing to make up for the lack of presence of first-party titles. You know, we didn't see Contraband, we didn't see Avowed, we didn't see Hellblade, we didn't see Faith. You know, there was so much we didn't see that it was kind of like, oh, so this is meant to make me feel better about the year, and it kind of did. But now I'm like,
yeah.
I'm not going to believe you if you do this again.
Yeah, exactly. It's the boy who cried wolf, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's like, okay, well, you can do it again if you want, but like I'm skeptical, whereas I wasn't before. You know, yeah, that's just how it is. So yeah, very slight delay. You know, arguably from the end of June to September, 3 months. Big deal or not big deal?
I don't think it's a big deal if other games in the year that this year is set out to be hit. But I feel like if some of the games don't hit, Redfall doesn't hit and stuff like that, I think I'm going to notice this gap now, and be a little bit annoyed by it. Maybe I'll give me a chance to play all these other games that we're saying, you know, are coming out in a stacked year, so it might not be an issue. But I think, you know, if the stuff that's coming out before Starfield does hit, doesn't flop, and does what it's, you know, predicted to do, then no, I don't think this 3-month delay particularly bothers me. And again, we've both always been in the camp of just take your time, you know, delay the game if you need to. This is a big release, both, you know, for Xbox and just in general, you know, you just, when you release a game like this, you want it to be good, but there's a lot of eyes on it from like a marketing standpoint and people looking in as Xbox as a whole here. So just take your time and just make it good. You know, it's not the end of the world. You know, fingers crossed I'm going to be alive in September. So
See, now you're thinking like me. Let's go.
you know,
Yeah. No, absolutely. And then, to a degree, actually, like I understand like the optics, but to me personally, this is good for me. Like, I did not want this to be competing with Diablo. I didn't want this to be competing with your attention for Final Fantasy.
that's true.
And there's like Breath of the Tears of the Kingdom. That's June as well. Like, all of that's going to suck so much air out the room. Do you remember when you said "suck the room out the air"? Was that me? One of us said that. That was funny.
You.
I don't know.
I never said that.
I almost did it again. I almost said "suck the room out the air" again. Yeah, like, it's just going to be that month is too bonkers for Starfield to make any sort of impact that it otherwise could have had. And I think September is a nice landing point as well for holidays, when parents are starting to look at consoles. Oh, look at this Starfield.
And especially if Starfield
that
is now
game
slapped on the fucking packaging for Xbox as well. Fuck Halo.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, fuck Halo. Seeing season 26, am I right?
Yeah, season fucking 5, more like season dive.
Fucking hell. Yeah, actually, I meant to say that in the opening as well. I've been playing Halo Infinite. I'm not going to do that now. I'll come back to it next week. But,
I've heard some positive things about it, so I'll come back to it.
Yeah, so generally, I think.
Like, I genuinely do. I actually genuinely want to play Halo, but I'm not doing it. Like, I'm actively not doing it because I want to finish the Overwatch Battle Pass. At the moment.
Oh, don't worry. The Battle Passes don't expire, mate.
Yeah.
3 for 3 got you covered.
They do for Overwatch. Which is exactly why
that's what I'm saying.
Fucking doing this. Not that I'm having a bad time. Yeah, anyway, but yeah, it's great.
Hey, that's fine.
I'm glad they look like they've found their feet, but we can talk about it more on another episode. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, man. So I think it's good. Overall, I think September is a much better month for Starfield to really have its moment. I think you're right. If some of the games maybe before that don't hit, it might feel a bit worse. But having said that, I think Xbox has a good lineup for the year, between what they've released already, Minecraft Legends. I think Ara's still coming out this year, History Untold. Something I'm missing.
And I've got loads of
that's something I'm missing.
that are kind of on my radar. You know, whether it's on the same platform or not, like Final Fantasy 16. I've had my eye on this indie game coming out that's looks really good called Sea of Stars that I want to play.
Oh yeah.
You know, there's loads of games out there that will fill my time. You know, and so, but obviously I would like my time to be filled by a slapping Redfall. So, but who knows?
Yeah, absolutely. So overall, I think this is healthy, and I think to be fair, most people are happy that it's been delayed. I think a lot of people want Starfield to succeed, but they really do. I haven't seen much hoping that Starfield will fail, because Bethesda Game Studio games mean a lot to a lot of people. In the same way that I see people like wanting Redfall to die, you know, it's like the opposite, because it's like it's always online, or you know, it's co-op, and I don't want co-op in my arcade games, you know, just shit like that. Whereas this is very traditional Bethesda, and that means a lot to a lot of people. So yes, fingers are crossed. So the other side of this is less a Starfield thing, and more that they, in a sort of weird roundabout way, they announced that the direct, so we're going to have a full walkthrough of the game directly after the Xbox showcase. I don't think there's been an Xbox Wire like announcement, unless I missed it, like a proper announcement of them saying, "Oh, our Xbox showcase is on this day." Like we just found out at this thing that's the showcase. Yeah. So by the looks of it, Starfield isn't part of the main show. It's coming in a half an hour stream straight afterwards.
Yeah,
which I think is kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't know. You give it its own spotlight, you know, like, which is exactly why we were thinking that they might just do another Xbox Bethesda thing, right? They kind of just want the whole segment to be about that, you know, and they don't want to drown out with other stuff or take its attention away by being like, here's Starfield, okay, now here's this, that. They're gonna be like, here's all the shit you don't care about, and then here's Starfield. You know, I don't think. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me too much. You know, they're still gonna fucking market the shit out of it and be like, you know, slapping Xbox all over it. But yeah, it's just its own thing after the Xbox showcase. Yeah.
Mm. And this is the other thing of it, like, right? They've said that it's an Xbox showcase. They haven't called it an Xbox Bethesda showcase in the same way it was last year. You know, so it begs two questions. The first, are they doing that now because they get the feeling that the public perception of the two are now linked? Like, do they think that it's they don't have to keep saying Bethesda now, or is it because the only presence that Bethesda has this year is for the Starfield Direct afterwards? You know.
Yeah, probably.
Like maybe Bethesda don't have any other presence in the show, and maybe actually Xbox just have enough first party stuff to fill out the show. Between
Probably.
Forza, maybe they show off a bit of Avowed, maybe Hellblade. You know, that's looking quite good.
I would probably say that's it. Yeah, yeah. I think you might have hit the nail on the head there. Yeah.
And the other thing is the naming convention. I did want to talk about this as well, like because we spoke about this kind of developer direct thing, and I kind of am a bit disappointed they haven't done that. I mean, I know they've called it Starfield Direct. I don't know, like I feel like, why not just call it Developer Direct Starfield, and then use all the same design language? Because it's not that they haven't used the same like visuals or iconography or anything here, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, they've always had this issue, haven't they? They just can't stick to a format, and like a naming convention, and it just becomes just confusing. You know, I get that they want Starfield to be in the title. They want it to be the buzzword Starfield Direct. You know, the developer direct _ Starfield.
Yeah.
You know, it's a bit of a mouthful. It puts it at the end. They want the buzzword, the first thing people read, to be that. But at the end of the day, I think there's a lot to be said for just sticking to a format and sticking to a naming convention and stuff like that. So it's a bit odd to me, but I don't know. Xbox is still finding their feet with all this. It's weird.
Yeah, especially after it was such like the reception was so good. You know, just a couple of months back, like everybody was so happy. The community was so energized by everything about the show, really. I'm just surprised they didn't lean into that branding a bit more. And don't get me wrong, I'm glad that they're using direct again. I think that's like a bit of a relation, and obviously it's straight after the showcase, so just by nature of timings or proximity, there's going to be a brand association there. It's not bad by any means. I'm just a bit disappointed that they haven't leaned into that, because I thought that was going to be like a real rallying cry for the community of like, oh, wow, developer direct, yeah, let's go. In the same way that, hey, Nintendo Direct, hey, State of Play, but now we're just kind of like developer direct, Xbox Direct, Avowed Direct, Hellblade Direct, developer. Are there developers on this game?
Is it a game direct? Is it a developer direct?
Is this direct to my eyes?
Yeah.
Direct to my console?
It's directly confusing. What's going on?
Yeah. Very confusing. So that's fine. So final part then around on Starfield, Tim. I've got if you scroll to the very, very bottom, I've got a link, please, which will take you to a Reddit thread of the sleuths, the Reddit sleuths. I'll take you to a Twitter thread, but it's about Reddit sleuths, Reddit ninjas, who have broke down that gameplay the release date trailer that we had on the screen, about 15 minutes ago, to try and like extract information. And no joke, somebody took a screenshot of some of the code that was in the game and has found that we can have AI controlled ships in Starfield because of what the code says.
Really? Where's that?
Really? It's the screenshot. Sorry, it's not actually in the link I gave you. This screenshot's above that link in the notes.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Jesus, man.
I know. How mental is that?
That's crazy to me.
And I just want to like, it's still a bit like iffy, but I mean, it sounds right, but like just to give you context of what they've tried to translate out of the code, what they've gotten is, quote, gets the given spaceship blank, the AI pilot is associated with the given blank blank to blank 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 for the crew. That is the associated spaceship, null blank if not found. So I mean, it sounds pretty spot on, but it's it's not. I don't think there's room for wriggling away there. Maybe that's a mission script or something, rather than like a full-on feature.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, could be kind of cool though.
Yeah, for sure. I do have like this kind of like. Do you have people? Can you have someone fly you in real time from planet to planet while you just do your own things on the ship, upgrade your guns, or like can you make your companion spaceships and they can go off and get resources for you and come back? Can you call in the army like that scene in Endgame? Where you get invaded by bandits and then you're like fucking
Doctor Strange
pirates assemble. Yeah. And the squad can like warp drives to your position and helps you out in the fight. I don't know. Maybe. So beyond that, other people have gone crazy in looking for stuff to talk about in that tiny slither of a trailer. Are you sharing screen, Tim, for that Twitter thread?
Yes.
Thank you.
I am. Yeah.
And I just wanted to point to a couple of things that that people have noticed that maybe you didn't. And it looks pretty accurate. The first one is about gun combat and recoil looking noticeably better. Sorry, audio listeners. We'll just try and describe this to you, but I mean, yeah, the gun recoil looks a lot better. And again, this looks smooth. That looks 60 frames. I'm not mental, am I? That looks 60 frames.
It does look kind of 60. Yeah. It looks very smooth. And yeah, from what we saw, I think this is a different gun to when we saw the previous gameplay slither, but it definitely looks more punchy. Yeah, it's like recoiling up and back and kicking around in the player's hands and stuff like that. But it could just be the kind of gun, where previously he was using like an SMG or something. So and what's interesting is it's too blurry to see like the bullet trails and stuff like that, but people were saying that, weren't they, in the last one, that the bullet trails looked like they were coming out a bit slow or a bit delayed or something like that, and it looked a bit weird.
Oh, did they? Did people saying that, were they? Oh, yeah, I never thought that was a problem.
Yeah, so yeah, looks good. Looks punchy.
And I probably should give a shout out to the actual user we're on now, which is at Starfield Beyond. It looks like a Starfield news Twitter thread. So recommend to go and have a look. And then the next GIF we've got a bit further down, jetpack traversal animations are now more impactful. Yeah, I can see that there's more like movement. There's definitely more kinetic, these movements, aren't they, than maybe what we saw before.
Yeah, there's definitely still that stiff Bethesda jump animation as you just fall straight through the sky. But yeah, like as you activate your jetpack, your body gets jetted to the left, and there's some decent movement there. It looks nice. Yeah.
It looks, and this is the thing, it looks much better than I would anticipate a Bethesda game to look in these areas. A BGS game to look in these areas.
Agreed.
Lighting seems to have been tweaked to spread and reflect more realistically. Might be we got a comparison of two different moons here. They might be different, hard to tell. But again, looks nicer.
Looks great. Yeah.
Looks like an upgrade. But I felt like that way in the first gameplay showcase we got. I thought the landscapes looked really good anyway.
Yes,
I
was happy with how everything looked,
yeah, like the skyboxes and the landscapes and and the environments looked good. I thought the only thing that I thought like, oh, that looks like a BGS game, were like some of the faces, which looked good. They look much better, but that was like, it's not amazing. And some of the animations looks like a bit stiff as well. So, different strokes, I guess. NPCs now appear to have fully fledged idle animations. In the original demo that we saw, most idle NPCs had a static pose. A couple of HUD changes, nothing really to write home about. But that's pretty much it. And I think really, again, if you're an audio listener and you couldn't see some of the things that Tim was scrolling through there, the takeaway here is that even in the last year, there's been quite a bit of polish, and they've got another 6 months now until launch. I would not be surprised if, and we've said this before, everyone said this before, that these delays have gone towards making this Xbox first party quality that like Xbox wants now, rather than, imagine, this would have launched 11/11, 6 months, well, 4 months ago now.
Yeah, it could have been rough.
And there would have been bugs there. It would have been bugs Thesta, probably.
Yeah.
And it would have probably only had 30 frames, but now it's looking like, oh, there's an extra level of polish here, an extra level of attention to the gun feel, to the movement, to the lighting, maybe the performance as well. And those are all the things that I think the game really needs, just to have that extra kick, to be a marketing beat for the Xbox console, really. So
agreed.
Really excited for this. Really excited.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. Everything I've seen here has just solidified more in my mind that this game is just looking better and better the more time that's being spent on it. And it makes the blow of it coming out later less as well, because it's just like every time I see it, it's getting better. So it's just like, well, in 3 months from its original release to now it coming out in September, that can make a big difference again to how it looks and making it seem and feel a lot better. So I'm all for it, if it makes that much of a difference. Yeah,
absolutely. Exciting times. Ladies and gentlemen, that's everything for the show today. Thanks for sticking this one out with us. We will jingle on out of here, I suppose.
We are already.
He's good at what he does. Drink some water. Stay warm. Go and get yourself a nice head of broccoli. Is that kind of weird? Why is it called a head? That's kind of weird to me.
I've never heard someone call it a head of broccoli.
Head of cabbage?
I think a head of cabbage I've heard, but I've never heard a head of broccoli. But get
A
yourself
floret?
some broccoli.
What's it
Broccoli's
called?
good. What?
What's a big bit of broccoli called? Like a big bit.
I don't know. I just thought
Like
it
a
was
big
called
fucking bit of broccoli.
Dude. I don't know. Broccoli stem.
Is it? What's a floret? A floret? I don't think I've ever said that word out loud. I've only ever read it. So now I feel really stupid. Floret. Is that a word?
Floret. Yeah, I'd say floret. But this is weird.
Go get yourself some broccoli. Have a nice salad. Get some veggies in your system, and we'll see you all powered up for next week's episode. Night 2. See you later.